Hi, my name is Veitkus, and this is The Common Good Show, where we discuss the gift of life and explore everyday blessings through the lens of faith-based stories and real-life experiences. The Common Good Show is brought to you by Guadalupe Roastery in partnership with Maria Vision. Through these conversations, we discover the lessons and truths that have guided our guests to where they are today, what they have learned over the course of their journey, and how those principles can be applied to our own lives in order to elevate people, either as groups or as individuals, to reach their fulfillment in its entirety. With me this morning, I have Serf Sanchez. Serf is a husband, a father of 5, a realtor entrepreneur with the Keys Company. Serf was born and raised in Miami, where for 17 years he helped clients buy, sell, lease, or both for residential and commercial real estate. With a thriving career in his hometown, there was no reason to leave it all behind. That was until God spoke up. Now Serf and his family live in Ave Maria and feel blessed by their new town, new friends, and new opportunities. Serf, thank you so much, man. Thanks for making the time. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. This is great. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm going to hit you right with our big question.
Okay.
Is there something in your everyday life that serves as proof to you of God's faithfulness and blessings? I can't talk.
Absolutely. I mean, in the bigger picture, my family, absolutely blessed to have my family. It starts with my wife. She's the pillar of our family, and I'm blessed to have met her. Going on, let me see if I get this right, 17 years that we've been married, 18 years that we met. So,
well done.
Very blessed to have her, man. She's like I said, the pillar of our family, and every single day I'm thankful for her. And on the smaller scale, the blessing, my coffee, I have to have my first cup of coffee every morning.
Okay.
Gets my morning started, And
it's got to be black.
It's got to be black, yeah.
Beautiful. 18 years met, 17 years married. That didn't take long.
No, it didn't. And that's an interesting story. We met online.
Okay.
We met on Match.com.
Okay.
We were one of the first success stories on Match.com.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they featured us on their website and things
really?
like that. It was pretty cool. We're both from Miami.
Okay.
Dating scene in Miami, it's, I'm sure, tough now, but it was tougher back then. And I was a businessman, always working and stuff like that. So
yeah.
We met on Match.com, and our first date, I asked her a question, which I guess would scare off a lot of people. Yeah. I said, how many kids you want to have when you get married? And she said 5. And again, some people would run away from that and say, well, it's too many kids.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted too. I wanted 5 kids.
Okay.
So I was like, there's definitely a connection here from our first date.
Yeah.
And we actually closed down Dave & Buster's. They kicked us out.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
They were vacuuming the floors. They're like, guys, we're done. Go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I knew I was 33 when I met her.
Yeah.
I'm 9 years older than my wife. And I knew what I didn't want in my life. So the minute I met her, she just checked off all the boxes.
Yeah.
So after 2 months, I think we were dating 2 months, I proposed to her.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, awesome.
Congratulations, too.
Thanks, man.
And going strong.
Thanks, absolutely, man.
And how many kids do you guys have together?
We have 5.
Yeah.
5 from, they range in, the youngest is 3, the oldest is 16.
16.
Yeah.
Boys and girls?
4 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son and I are outnumbered. Yeah, we had to bring in a male dog to try to
balance it.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
and you said your son was the second to oldest, right?
Yeah, second to oldest. He's 13.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is he getting to like the really active stage where the girls in the house are like, it's drama and it's fancy and he just wants to go do stuff? Or
yeah, he's very good at, he's a self-taught pianist.
Oh wow, okay.
So he has a great affinity for music. Like he'll hear a song and he'll play it. And that's what he likes to do. He goes into his room, he plays a piano. We have a keyboard in his room, and then he also has a bigger piano in the living room.
Okay.
So when the girls stress him out, he goes in to play the piano.
Tickles the ivories.
Yeah, and it's a good excuse because he doesn't hear anybody when he's playing. So
exactly.
So yeah, he's at that age, and he's also an animator. He does graphic design.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's really good at it. He's writing a book, so he's very, very gifted when it comes to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So he's at that age where he's developing his skills.
Yeah.
Which is he had a great story too, because he started on a program that MIT came out with called Scratch for kids.
Wow.
And it was doing animation and things like that.
Yeah.
And he got bullied by somebody online. And
for that.
Well, while he was on there,
Okay.
One of the kids started bullying him on there.
Yeah.
And he came to us, and we had a conversation about it, and told him, you need to get off of that because it's creating stress in his life, right? So it was hard for him because he was on there every day creating, and he loved to see his work and the things that he was doing. And I had a conversation with him, and I said, God is doing this for a reason in your life. You don't know what that is at this moment, but I guarantee you that you're going to look back at sometime in the future, and you're going to be thankful for this because the blessings are going to be so much bigger because of it.
Yeah.
And he's learned that. Now his animation and his style has elevated to a professional level. I mean, he's using professional programs instead of using something that was just for kids.
Yeah.
So
at 13.
At 13.
That's incredible.
He's awesome. He helped me design my logo for my business.
Okay.
He's amazing.
Is he up for hire?
Actually, he's constantly telling me, Dad, you gotta get me people to work on stuff for them. So
yeah.
I'm super proud of him. I'm proud of all my kids. They're all talented in their own ways.
Yeah, I love that.
So, but yeah, 13 is tough for a boy, especially with all the girls in the house.
Yeah. Although, well, yeah. I'm curious, because you mentioned it for your son, and I think a lot of times when we have pieces of advice or wisdom for either friends or in your case, in your children, it most often comes from an experience that we've walked through. And so is there a particular situation or experience or something that happened in your life where when you were walking through it, it hurt or it was tough, it was a real challenge, but being able to look back on it now, I don't know if you're glad it happened the way it did, but you realize that it was almost necessary.
I'm sure there's many, many times in my life that I've gone through situations like that. Yeah. Particularly, with our move here to Ave.
Yeah.
We had just bought a house.
Yeah.
We waited, I think, 6 months for our house to be constructed. I love the house, beautiful house. Kind of sort of like my dream location, the size of the property, with the land that we had. 5 kids, I wanted a lot of land for them to run around.
Yeah.
And I really, really was happy.
Yeah.
And my business was doing great. My wife says one day, let's go take a look at Ave Maria. And I said, what for?
Like, why?
And she's like, well, it's a small, Catholic town, and it might be good to raise our kids there. Miami's not the best place to raise our kids.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, we just bought a house. We've been here a year.
What you mean?
What do you? And she's like, well, you were looking for a client for a retirement property. They have great retirement community. So
she roped you
that
in.
was her excuse.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let's go take a trip over there. It's only a couple hours away. And we came the first time, and I was like, this is nice. It's nice, But I didn't get anything. Like, she was super excited about it.
Yeah.
Showing me all things. Look at this, how beautiful. Look how, all the kids. And I didn't feel anything. I was like, no, I'm happy. We're not moving.
I like that new house.
Yeah, I got my business. Everything is going great, And then she said, let's go back like a week later. So like, let's go back again. The weather was beautiful. And this was during COVID. So we hadn't gone out. That was the first time we ventured out of the house for months.
Yeah.
So we took another drive, and that night, we were still here late at night, and we had dinner at the pub on the outside.
Yeah.
And it was empty, right? Like I said, COVID time.
Yeah.
So nobody walking around, just completely desolate, and the church was all lit up. And she's talking to me, the kids are talking to me, they're having a great time. Really nice and cold, it was probably like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And man, all of a sudden, I just had this calling, this stirring that says, this is where you need to be. And I was like, wow, is that what I'm feeling? Is this really, is really God talking to me, telling me, move here? Like, leave everything, you just bought a house, leave everything.
Am I hearing this right?
Yeah. Because sometimes you question, like, maybe I need a sign.
Right.
Sign, you know? So we got in the car, driving back to Miami, and I looked over at my wife and I said, let's do it. And she was like, are you serious?
Wait.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. She's like, are you serious? I'm like, let's do it. She goes, why'd you change your mind? I said, God spoke to me. I just felt the Holy Spirit come and say, this is where you need to be. And I felt a peace. And, you know, going through a lot of things, selling the house, like everything happened the way it was supposed to be for us. You know, we sold our house in 3 hours, put the house up on the market, sold it in 3 hours, multiple offers. Yeah, they let us stay an extra month because we needed to find a place here.
Yeah.
We bought a house here without selling the other one, and this one was being built, so we needed to find a place to stay.
Yeah.
And so everything worked out in great timing. And the first 2 or 3 months I was here, I was like giddy, like a little kid. Like, I just felt at peace, you know, and you know, now I look back and I'm like, you know what? I had no idea that my life was going to take that change, you know, that turn. And it all happened within a matter of a couple of weeks. Like, you go from being in one place and all of a sudden 2 weeks later, you're upending your life and moving, you know. And I didn't know, you know, leaving my business behind, it's 2 hours away, so I still travel sometimes down to Miami. But, you know, I've let contacts, all those things behind to start here. But I have faith, and, you know, He's already started to show His blessings, and, you know, we're very happy that we're here.
And we kind of talked about it a little bit beforehand, but for the people watching and listening, because I think it's actually a really cool story, you didn't just walk into real estate.
No.
It was run through that, because I love that.
I didn't.
Keeping the theme of faith going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I was working sales for a towel company. A buddy of mine owns a towel company, and I was doing outside sales for him. And he was buying a house, and I met his realtor. And his realtor was like this firecracker of a guy, you know, coming in and telling me, "Oh, look, I'm in real estate. You know, you seem like you're a good person. You got a great personality. You do great." And at first, I was like, "This guy wants something from me," you know, like he's just giving me a story. And then I said, "Well, I took my class, but I never took my test, and that time is about to expire." So, like within a month, it was gonna my license or my opportunity to take the test was about to expire. So he says, "You should do it and come work for me. I'll train you." And I said, I don't know if I want to do it. And I remember he called me up on a weekend, Saturday night, and he says, "Hey, guess what? How much money I made last night?" And he like gives me this astronomical number, and I'm like, "In one day?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I'm taking that test next week. I'm gonna go ahead and do it." And I did it. And you know, and something I didn't tell you before, when I was supposed to schedule a test, I slept in. I forgot to set my alarm for the right time. I thought it was like at 11 in the morning, and it was at 8:30.
Oh, wow.
So when I get there, they told me, "No, you passed your time. You can't take the test." And like, it expired like within 3 days. I had to go back to school, do the whole course all over again.
Oh, geez.
And when I tried to reschedule, they said, "No, you have to wait 30 days. So I went home, and I'm like bummed. I'm like, I have to take this whole thing again. So I went online, and I tried to set the appointment again online, and it accepted the appointment for the next day. So I went, and I took the test, and I passed it. And I remember the lady, I walked in the next day, she goes, "Weren't you here yesterday?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "How'd you get the appointment?" I said, "I don't know." I do know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
so,
man.
And, you know, 17 years later, almost 18, I'm still doing it. I love it. I love the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love what I do. I love helping people. It's just something that when you get to, buying a home is a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the biggest purchase people tend to make in their lives. So being able to help people through that process is very fulfilling, to see their faces and, you know, people light up. It has also to do a lot with family. because you see the kids running around. You know, I always tell them, which room did you pick out?
Yeah.
And I go and I tell them, pick the master. And then the parents are like,
Get the
oh,
big one.
that's our room. The kids will be running in the bathroom. It's like, Mom, I like this jacuzzi. This is going to be my bathtub.
Like, nope.
But it's fun. It's very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And like I said, almost 18 years doing it. And I love it. I love doing it.
Do you have, and it might have changed over the 18 years, but do you have a daily routine, a morning routine that kind of grounds you, gets you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. So it always starts, you know, my coffee first thing in the morning. I have to have my cup of coffee. My kids start to wake up at that time, and you know, come in. Each ones have different timing. You know, the older ones sleeping later.
Yeah.
The little ones are up at the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Feels like it.
Yeah, it feels like it. So usually up between 6 and 6:30. You know, the kids at 7 they start waking up. My 3-year-old wakes up and she'll start screaming, "Dad, take me out," because she's still in her crib. We're transitioning her to a bed soon. So she's like, "Dad, get me out."
She doesn't climb out?
So no, because they invented this thing, which is the coolest thing. It's like a bed tent. So it's like a tent that goes in the crib.
Yeah.
With a zipper, and that way she stays in there.
She can't.
No, she can't get out. Yeah, we learned our lesson. Remember, we have 5.
That's true.
So yeah, one of ours, my third. She one time when she was a baby, my wife and I we had put her to bed and we're getting ready to go to sleep, watching some TV, and all of a sudden we see a blur go through the hallway, and we're like, "What was that?"
Hello?
And exactly, hello. And she's like, "What was that?" I go, "I don't know." We went, and it was my daughter. She was running around in her pajamas through the whole house, and we were like, "How'd you get out?" You know, and we put her back in, cracked the door open a little bit.
Yeah.
And there she was, threw over the comforter she had on, started figuring out how to climb. Boom, she climbed, and she fell. We didn't hear it, obviously, the first time when it happened, but she fell. She got up, and she's like, "I'm all right," and she just kept walking.
Did it again.
And she just did it again. So we learned from that, you know, and eventually we found this cool tent thing that goes on.
Okay.
And they love it. I mean, she tells me when I forget to zipper it.
Oh,
she's like, "Dad, you got a zipper." So
get my tent.
So yeah, she wakes up and. My morning starts from there. I make them breakfast, and then I go walking. That's something I've been doing, concentrating more here since I got here because it's beautiful to walk around in different places here. That they have the parks, all the walking paths.
Yeah.
So I do that every single morning, if weather permits. Sometimes I've walked in the rain.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's just my time, man. It's my time to just get grounded, and I listen to some of my podcasts. I'm big into, motivational speakers and things like that.
Yeah.
Constantly keep me going. And so I listen to that, and, I listen to some different family podcasts and things like that, and spend some time talking, to the big guy upstairs, and, like I said, just getting grounded before my day starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a point in time when you realized you're like, I need to do this every day, or did it just kind of happen like naturally? And I was like, this is nice.
I started exercising because after COVID, everybody got that COVID weight going. So, so I said, I have to do something about it. Yeah. And my goal was, by the time I'm 50, I want to be in the best shape of my life, right? So
I like it.
50 is right around the corner. Literally, it's in January. So.
I would have guessed it like another 9 years, but
thank you.
Fair.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, beginning of this year, I said, okay, I'm going to start going to the gym and start walking every day. Mm-hmm. And the first time I went walking, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I was exhausted. And I did it for a couple of days, and I gave up. And I was like, I really don't need to walk. I'm going to the gym. That's going to be fine. But then I noticed I started missing something. Like I said to myself, it doesn't feel the same if I don't walk.
Okay, the feeling,
Yeah, it doesn't feel the same if I don't walk. And it was great because I was walking close to where they were building my house.
Nice.
And that was like my motivating factor was every day go see what they're doing, see if there's anything new happening.
Yeah.
So that got me going, and I enjoy it now. Like now, if I'm not walking in the mornings, I feel off. It just, like I said, it just puts me in the right frame of mind for my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that. I totally understand that. I have to get up and do something physical in the mornings as well.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, and there's been days when it doesn't happen, but you can tell.
Yeah.
Like you just feel it.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I stopped working out for a couple of months when the new variant came out and everybody was freaking out, and a bunch of people that I knew were getting COVID, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a step back again. And those 2 months were miserable. And I didn't think about that. I didn't think about how much I was really enjoying, how much I needed it.
Yeah.
Not only the enjoyment part of it, but how much I needed it. I was like, I really need it.
Yeah.
I really, it de-stresses me. It helps me out, and so we're back at it again.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
With your motivational stuff in the morning, are there 2 or 3 particular artists, authors, anything like that you go to that you like? Kind of not necessarily mentors in terms of like of your work, but just like life mentors.
Yeah. I listen to Ed Milet a lot.
Okay.
Also, I've been a fan of Tony Robbins for many, many years.
Okay.
But recently, I listen a lot to Ed Milet.
Okay.
I just like the way he speaks, the way he teaches, and the people that he has on his show, on his podcast are great. Just a lot of life learning lessons throughout that. So it's good. I like
Is it M-I-Let, or how's the
Mylett?
Oh, okay, okay, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
What's
it's Ed Milet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the podcast called?
The Ed Milet Show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's actually one of the top motivational speakers in the world.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a fantastic story. He was into sports and things like that early on, and that didn't go anywhere, and he found himself working in a what was it, a home for boys for not displaced, but like homeless boys and things like that. And he went to help them out through college, and it just inspired him to be a better person and to give back. So, and that's pretty much where it started for him.
Okay.
So it's a good story.
And then now the Tony Robbins stuff, is that more on the personal side than it is the business side?
I've been listening to Tony Robbins for a while, many years, man. I want to say over 20 years, and it always started with business.
Okay.
Always started with business.
Yeah.
I've always been in, dealing with people, and early on I was wanting to become an attorney. That was my thing. So I went to school, became a paralegal. Had to deal with people and going to court and all those types of things. So my goal was to be the best at whatever field that I wanted to get in.
Yeah.
So he taught a lot about goals and confidence and things like that. So I looked up to that and looked forward to listening to his stuff. Back then it was on cassette. So
I love that.
Back in the rewind.
Put it in.
My wife was showing me something the other day where there was something on social media where they were learning to write down songs before Google.
Yeah.
Right. You want to learn a song, you press play, and then you write down and stop.
Yeah.
And then write it down and then press play. And I said, well, she's on a CD. Remember when we had
cassettes?
My wife, like I said, is almost 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cassettes. We like. Oh, now I went too far.
Back a little forward.
Yeah. So those were fun times. So
get your finger in there and twist it all the way through.
Oh yeah.
Got to make sure it's tight.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Is there something that you learned in the paralegal days that you've kept with you through this whole thing? Something that stuck out with you that either from your studies or from, like you said, you're working with a lot of people, or from something you observed in people or heard from someone?
The details in the legal field. It's all about contracts and the way that people write the things. Whenever you read a contract, they say, right, it's up to the interpretation of the person who's reading it, right?
Right.
So I learned very early on that in contracts you have to be very, very clear about what you were getting into. And at 19, my whole family, everybody was giving me, I'm going to buy a car, this is the contract. I'm going to go buy a house, this is the contract. Read it.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
take a look at it.
Yeah, and I wasn't an attorney, but you know, at 19, you're like, oh, I could do that. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I can read this,
This
sure.
is what this says. This is an explaining to them. And it was always about making sure that whatever you signed, whatever deal you got into, you need to make sure you understood it.
Yeah.
So I've always been, and it rolls into my business now as an agent, a realtor. I have to explain contracts to people and things like that. So it's made it easy over the years to have that background. But just be careful what you sign and make sure that you understand before you sign anything.
What sort of parallel, I'm going to draw from what you said of understanding what you're getting into and really take the time. What sort of parallel do you think can be drawn between that and just life in general?
Oh, that's a good one. I just had a conversation with my son about commitment, right? So I teach them a lot about, you know, self-worth, right? For what you, how reality is, you're never going to be happy until you make yourself happy, right? That comes from within.
Yeah.
So when they commit to something, I tell them, you gave somebody your word, right? You're committing to it. You got to see it through. So I was telling him, in my time, like growing up, I would shake somebody's hand and said, I'm going to be there, I'm going to do that. And I did it, you know. Nowadays, obviously, you know, there's more to, on the legal side of things, you have to have everything in writing and things like that.
Right.
But you have to, it's your word. You know, word's my bond, right? So you have to fulfill that commitment. So when you're gonna commit to something, make sure you know what you're committing to, right? Get everything clear, and make sure that if you say, oh yeah, I'll do that play, or I'll do, you know, that event, find out what time it is, and make sure that you're not doing anything else on that day, and make sure that you show up on time before you need to be there and get, you know, do what you need to do. Because you just can't call up 20 minutes before and say, oh, forget it, I don't want to do it.
Right.
You know? So
It's not how it works.
I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of people do that nowadays. You
Yep.
know, but you know, I try to teach my kids, you when you give somebody your word, it is what it is. So even internally, like family-wise,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes they'll bicker because the little ones will say, oh, you promised you were going to play with me, and then the other one will be like, oh, I'm not going to do it now. And I'll be like, well, what did you tell her? I said I was going to play with her. But Dad, I'm saying, no, you said you were going to play with her. You have to go play with her.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that's your word.
Yeah.
And she has to trust you. So that's what I would say the parallel would be, is know what you're getting into.
Yeah, the commitment.
Yeah.
I love that too. So I have the fantastic opportunity right now. I'm coaching a high school soccer team. Well, helping coach. I'm assistant. I specifically remember like two particular coaches growing up at different stages of my life, and they had a lasting impact on me for very particular reasons in terms of discipline and being committed and whatnot. And it's something that's the biggest thing that, and the gentlemen that are on the team I coach are phenomenal. They're talented. They're great. A great young group of gentlemen. But the biggest thing we struggle with is commitment to the practices and to everything we do. And I had a little contract at the beginning of the season for them all. I had them all sign it, and one of the things was like, if you can't be there, either myself or the head coach get a phone call 24 hours in advance. And if not, like, then the whole team suffers the consequences.
Absolutely.
And at first, and we still have one or two of them that don't make the call, and then it is what it is. But at first, they were like, no, like, come on, really? Like, we're going to do this? After a couple days of running, it became apparent to them that, you know, yes, I'm a necessary part of this team, but I'm a necessary part of this team.
Right.
And we're a family.
Absolutely.
And we do it together. And
Absolutely.
so when I step onto the field and onto the practice field, the game field, I have committed to this season of sports. And when I don't show up, it's not just about me. I hurt my teammates.
Absolutely.
Because we had a couple practices a couple weeks ago where like half the team was missing. And it's like, we can't do what we want to do to train and be better so that we can, you know, we try to strategize how we do our sessions and whatnot. That way we prepare for our opponents. And if we need to make some changes, then we're practicing that.
but we can't do it if we're not all together. And something that I think in my personal life a lot about is in regard to commitment. anytime you say yes, you're saying no to something else.
True. Yeah.
And anytime you say no, you're saying yes to something else, and so vice versa. But one thing, because I know a lot of people will struggle with saying no, and that just really resonates with me. It's like, hey, when you say yes, you're saying no to something else, and it kind of helps put in perspective when something, just like, oh yeah, I could do that, like really easy.
Right.
Why not? Sure.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm getting better about this personally. So I'm not calling anyone out. This is self-reflection. But now, take a couple extra seconds or minutes or a day or two to figure out, like, what are you supposed to be doing? What could you be doing with that time and whatnot? And it's something that goes far beyond whether it's just your kids playing at the house or the sports team or whatever.
Absolutely. You're in sports. I coached a lot of different sports.
Okay.
Football, baseball, roller hockey, soccer. It's a family, right?
Yeah.
So, and I played sports as well. So it boils down to, you're a team. Everybody has to do their part, and it's family. When you say family, that's kind of sort of how we run our family now. We homeschool, and my wife, she's the teacher. I'm the principal. That's her thing. That's what she handles. She knows it back and forth. And we've been doing it now for, I think, going on 10 years. We were starting doing it when it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Now after COVID, people are like normal, right? So, and here, you have so many people that homeschool, which one of the reasons we liked it is like-minded people.
Yeah.
And, people sometimes ask us, you have a big family, how do you guys keep it together? How do you guys, handle everything? It must be chaos. And anybody with a big family is going to tell you, yeah, there's chaos in a big family. But we're a team, right? And everybody has their duties. So part of our homeschooling approach, my wife approaches like on the Montessori system. So our kids know how to cook. Our kids know they do their own laundry. They put it away. And they're kids, they don't like to do chores, but they got to do it. It's, it's like I explained to them, when you get a job, if you're working for somebody and they tell you got to go do this, you may not like it. That's your job. You got to do it, right? So when mom says, go do your laundry, they go, they do their laundry, and they put it on their phones, and they time everything out, and they go, put it in the dryer, take it out, and then put it away. That's how you get, the family unit to work together, where everybody's got something to do, everybody does something. I'm extremely disorganized, bro. Like just
not your thing.
It's just, and I can't say it's a guy thing, because I do know some guys that are organized, but I'm not organized. And my wife just complements that because she's super organized. She's like a OCD with her cleaning and her organization.
Yeah, I love that.
She has a saying that says everything has a place and everything in its place.
Yeah.
So we have labels all over the house.
Okay.
We have everything, and it's tough because we're 7 people. So she has to make sure that, when somebody says, Mom, where's the glue sticks? And she says, it's in the homeschooling closet. They go and they open and it says glue sticks, so they can find it easily. So she's very good at that and compliments me big time. Yeah, because like I said, I'm good at what I do. Like if our family was a movie, she would be the producer.
Yeah.
And me and the kids are the actors, right? So
without
the producer, the movie doesn't get made. So she's behind the scenes. I'm the one that likes to go in front of the cameras and meet the people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She's a social butterfly when she gets together with people.
Okay.
But I'm the extroverted. I'm the one that goes out and does all the type of stuff.
Right,
so,
right.
I enjoy it. I enjoy that that connection with people and being out there. She's more, like I said, behind the scenes. She does a lot because obviously stay-at-home mom
and homeschooling.
It's tough, man, but she's good at it. She's good at it. I feel like that. Like everybody in life has their things that they're really good at.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing mom and a great homemaker. I mean, she she cooks. We're Cubans. She cooks Cuban food, homemade, like from scratch, like every day.
Oh.
And like, it's crazy. It's crazy because I'll get home and I'll be like, I'm so hungry. What are you making? And she'll be like, oh, I'm making this, and I'll be like, yes.
Win.
Yeah. And the second plate is so hard to say no to.
Oh, I feel that.
So hard, bro.
I feel that.
So hard. But like I said, she does all of that, and while I go out and take care of the business stuff. You know? So she doesn't worry about bills. She doesn't ask me, to pay anything. Like everything gets paid. She just takes care of the house. And I don't ask her about the house stuff. She takes care of all that. So
there you go. Was that kind of ebb and flow something that came naturally to y'all when you started to build a life together? Is it something that you really had to take time to be like, okay, this is how it's gonna go?
It started when we were dating. I remember when she came over my house the first time that we were dating. It was just something that she was moving stuff around. And, I saw her sweeping, and I was like, wow, like she's taking care of me in that, in that way. Like, her being in her mid-20s, I think, when we first met, and me, not having that type of partner before. My mom was the one that always took care of me in that way. And here I have somebody that's looking out for me. Early on, she was going to college. She was becoming a teacher, and early on, when I started working as a realtor, that she got pregnant with my first daughter. I said, we want to raise our kids a certain way, and we both were in the same page. And she says, I would love to be able to stay home and raise the kids. And I said, okay, then I'll give you that life. And God has blessed us with that life for the last 18 years. So she's an expert at it. She takes care of everything, bro.
Did the homeschooling discussion kind of take a similar path where it was very...
we've always done things unconventionally.
Okay.
Like we had a home birth.
Okay.
With my son. My son was a home birth. And again, going back to, doing things before they were cool and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With the whole COVID thing, there was a lot of home births last year. But when we did it, just like when we started homeschooling, you get a lot of the negativity and a lot of the naysayers. And it comes from all around, friends, family. Oh, you're crazy. How are you going to do that? What if there's an emergency and you have to, continue to, like, what if something happens and you have to go to the hospital, and we're like, oh, the hospital is fine. We'll go to the hospital in a matter of a few minutes. The whole premise of being at home having a baby, it's got a lot of great things. You can actually be with your baby right when the baby's born. Like there's no nurses, no nothing, and your life goes back to normal, like immediately after the baby's born. And that's pretty cool. But there's also something cool about taking a little vacation, from the other kids at the hospital for 3 or 4 days. And that's what we ended up doing. We had my son, when back in 2008, and back then, we had a doula. People were like, "What's a doula?" It's like, "Oh, she's like a coach. She coaches the whole thing along." And so, after him, there's always like these parameters that they want for home birthing. Like they look at your safety risks and things like that. So, one of my wife's parameters were, they weren't at 100% of what they wanted. So they're like, you know what, you should do a hospital birth with your next one, which we did. And then that's when we figured, wow, this is like a vacation. we can do this.
We should do this again.
Yeah. So, so babies 3, 4, and 5 were all at the hospital. So we've always done things unconventional. So, with the whole homeschooling thing, we saw what my daughter was being taught. My daughter went to kindergarten. I think in first grade we pulled her out, and we saw that it's not what we wanted. We didn't want the school system, to be teaching them certain things back then. Now it's gotten worse, but back then,
that's another conversation.
That's a whole other episode. So I was like, she was, what do you think about me homeschooling? And I was like, let's do it. The same thing with the home birth. Like, I'm all in with her, man. Whatever she researches everything, and she like knows her thing. So when she says, what do you think about homeschooling? I'm like, let's do it. And we ventured into that, and we've never looked back. I love love the fact that we have so much freedom with our kids.
Yeah.
I spend, me as the provider, I spend a lot of time with my family.
That's nice.
I always work wherever I live, close to wherever I live,
Yeah.
so that I can be there for them. It's a great life, man, to be able to watch your kids, grow and be there for all the great moments.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm truly, truly blessed with that.
Do you have a home office, or do you go in somewhere?
No, I do have a home office.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have a home office. My company owns 55 offices in the state of Florida.
Okay.
So we have one in Naples. I rarely go into any of the offices.
Okay.
Because for me, business is always done on the street.
Yeah.
So, and now even more so because we have all the digital stuff, right? So now my paycheck gets deposited, all the checks get done through the phone, contracts get digitally signed. So, except for some meetings and things like that, there's really no reason for me to go into the office.
Yeah.
So, and they're used to that at my office. They know how I am.
Well, fair enough. That's nice though, that you have that flexibility and the ability to just
it's
spend
great.
that time at home with your kids.
It's great. Like I said, it's a blessing. Sometimes I tell them I have to get out. Sometimes I'm like, all right, that's it. Daddy's got to go.
I got to do something.
I got to make some appointments. I got to go out and see some people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great.
On the side of, I have no frame of reference for that, which is why I'm trying to, for what I'm about to ask, which is why I'm trying to figure out how to ask it. But on the side of you having walked this journey with your life to where you're at now and how things went out for you, less for your younger kids, although it still applies, and more for your 16, 13-year-old, and then the next. How has it been? Because obviously you're at home, you spend a lot of time with them. So what is it like learning how to communicate with each one specifically? Because I think in terms of real estate, that's a very personal thing. And like you said, when you're helping people with their houses, you spend a lot of time and you see the families and they work and whatnot. And a big part of that is building a relationship with your client and understanding how they work and how they communicate, what they want to look for and see. But I think you have a unique opportunity at home because you spend so much time with your kids that, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, I think, or at least it is with most families. So much time together, and you find out what really rubs each other, but you also learn how to like communicate and whatnot. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm like I said earlier, I'm very much into motivation and constant. I feel like for me personally, everybody has different personalities, but for me personally, I need that constantly. Like it's almost like when you play sports, and I, from our conversation, you've been competitive in your life. So when you're in a level of competition, your coach gives you that pep talk, right? Yeah. Like when he sees a team down, that's his job. Pep them up and get them out there and make go for the win. So that's what I need. I constantly need that motivation, and I've taught my kids about that. I've taught my kids about being confident, and where at the end of the day, the core for our family is our faith, right? So having the faith that we have, every single day there's challenges, and each one of them at their different ages have different challenges. My 7-year-old has a challenge that obviously my 16-year-old doesn't have.
Right.
And then that's the challenge for us as parents, is how to deal with that.
Yeah.
I was telling my son the other day, they say that you only mess up your oldest. The rest, because the first one with all the problems is the oldest, and then you figure it out along the line, right? Yeah. So my oldest started laughing, and she goes, "Well, thanks, Dad." But
you're like, I had to get it right for the one boy, so
yeah, he's the next one in line, so I got to figure it out. So those conversations are always based on faith and based on where you are in your life, right? Yeah. So if you're going through some issue with a friend, let's gauge that situation and what's going on in that relationship, and let's apply either something from our faith that we can apply to it, or just from our life experiences, and I'll give them my experience, and it's good because I reinforce things that I've done in my life and teach them, which which they appreciate and I appreciate. I mean, before I came here, my daughter just sent me a text message and she goes, "Dad, you're going to do great. I'm so proud of you, of the father, the husband, and business person you are. I'm proud to call you my dad." So stuff like that goes a long way, man.
That's sweet.
It tells me I'm doing something right as a dad.
Yeah.
And it's a big role. It's the hardest role you'll ever have in your life is being a parent.
Lord willing, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's cool. That's incredible.
Yeah, yes. So,
And yeah, I try, and at least even for my parents, like I'm very blessed to have a great relationship with both my parents, and they've been married 26 years, I think.
Awesome.
Now. Yeah, and so and it's always been good. It's always been amazing, and we've gone through, I was telling you, but we've moved a whole bunch and whatnot.
right.
And so we've been in a lot of different situations and scenarios, and the way that my mom and dad work has been, I think, is a big part of. I shared this with you on the phone. My 2 life goals are, well, the third one is to be a saint. That one's just always there. But it's to have a family and to help people.
Right.
And I think watching my parents has been a big part of why that's something that I desire and whatnot. Just because I think there's no better example of God's love for us and God's love for the church than a good family unit.
Absolutely.
Than seeing a husband and a wife work together and build together and whatnot.
Absolutely.
What is? I'll preface this by saying it may be a sensitive topic, so you don't have to answer it.
Okay.
But what's one of, if you've had one, what's one of the more challenging moments with your kids in terms of helping them through something? If they had a particular challenge or struggle that you weren't necessarily, when it happened or when it first came up, you weren't aware of how to deal with it or how to approach it.
Oh man. There's been a few, definitely for sure, that come to mind. The bullying with my son.
Yeah.
That was something that was hard to deal with because it wasn't like I can talk to a parent and say, "Hey, this is going on,"
Right.
Or a teacher and say, "My son is being bullied."
Right.
Because we did try to contact MIT and all the people behind the program, and we weren't able to get anywhere with that. So that was tough because you're going through something. You want to fix something for your child, right?
Yeah.
So that's the hardest thing. I have a hero complex, right? Like I want to fix everything. My wife, if she has a problem, I want to be able to take care of it.
I think it's safe to say that that's a guy thing.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think so because you want to be that protector always, right? So, for me, it's like, no, you can't do that to my son. Where are you? And I, obviously I can't go beat up a 12-year-old or something like that, but I want to say, hey, you don't do that to my kid, and we couldn't do anything like that. So you get frustrated and you just try to give them the best advice you can and say, listen, that person's not treating you right? So you need to make a decision. And because of that, it's funny because my son came up with a quote because of that situation. He said, "If you don't row, you must go." So basically talking about people in his boat, in his life. If you're not rowing, then you need to go. So if you don't row, you must go. And
It's very wise.
yeah, it shocked us. I mean, my wife and I was like, wow, we're gonna put that in a quote on the wall.
Yeah.
And we did. And we try to instill in our kids a standard for our family, right? And I think that's very important because once you teach your kids to have certain standards, then if somebody breaks that standard, then you have a choice to make at that point.
Yeah.
Right? And
yes.
we tell them, right? So is that how you want to be treated? Is that friend of yours, right? Because nowadays, like for me growing up, a friend was somebody I saw every day, I hung out with every day. I mean, I known them for years. Oh, this is my friend, Nowadays, like a little girl went to my daughter the other day, 7-year-old, they just met, and she goes, "You want to be best friends?" And my daughter was like, "Okay." She's 7. She just made a best friend. So we tell them, you've known this person a year, 2 years, they're your friend, but you're being disrespected in a way, right? Is it that your friend is having a bad day? we all have bad days.
Yep.
We all say
Yep.
things sometimes we don't mean. But are they disrespectful to you? Is this something that's happening consistently? Now, do you disrespect yourself? Does your family disrespect you? Because you have your standards, right? You need to look within and say, no, I don't talk to myself that way.
Right.
My family doesn't talk to me that way. Why would I let someone else talk to me that way?
Right.
So once you ground them in those standards that they have, it helps them. Because they themselves will come up to me and they'll say they had a situation and they said, that's not what I believe. And even in faith, some of their friends down in Miami would make fun of them for a certain thing that they would believe in, and they would stand up for it and they'd say, it doesn't matter that you don't believe that. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't change me. I know who I am.
I love that.
So I think having standards and teaching your kids proper standards is very important.
Well, and I love what you said. You recognize like if something goes against that standard, and then you have a choice. Because as you were saying it, you were like, you set standards and you have standard. When something happens, and in my head, and I even snapped it, I was like, oh, when something happens, gone.
Yeah.
But you continue, like, you have a choice. And I kind of corrected myself. I was like, no, you're right. Because a lot of times something happens and we have a tendency, I say we loosely.
General, yeah.
Yeah. We have a tendency to bend the rules for certain occasions. Like,
Absolutely.
oh, it's because of this or because of this.
Yeah.
And it's easy to think like, oh, it's fine. It's the one time it's not going to make a difference. But you start bending, it's like any piece of plastic or metal. And the more you bend it, the more brittle it becomes.
No, and to add to that, my wife has a saying that it's like a piece of paper, right? Once you crumble the piece of paper, no matter how much you straighten it, you still have wrinkles in it. Those wrinkles don't go out. So if you're hurting someone or you're doing something wrong and that's that paper, once it gets wrinkled and you try to straighten it out, like you're saying, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I did this, but if your behavior continues, then you'll never get that paper straight, right? So it's important for you to have that choice, but you have to have those standards. It's like coaching.
Yeah.
Right. As a coach, you have your standards, right? Kids got to go to practice, they got to give it 100%, and when they're playing, they got to give it 100%. And again, we all have bad days. There are days when I was playing football, I didn't want to practice. I got tired of running. One time I was running, and it's a team thing, right? So they tell you got 10 seconds to get from here to the other side of the 50-yard line. If you don't make it, everybody else has to run again.
Yep.
I was having a bad day. I told a buddy of mine,
By the way, that's like
drag
a
me.
foreign concept to kids these days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We don't want to get them to sweat. Right?
Yeah,
So it's too hot outside.
Oh, it's yeah.
So I told my friend, drag me, and he was like, I'm not gonna drag you. You gotta drag yourself. I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. He goes, you better make it. And you know what? I threw myself right at the last second, and I didn't make it. I was like off by like 2 yards.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're running again. I said, I'm not running again. And I just passed out. I was like, I can't. I'm dead. I'm done. I can't anymore.
Oh my goodness.
But you know what? I ended up. They got me up and gave me some smelling salt. And they said, "Okay, now you got to keep running." And I remember it's just it's hard. It's once those things happen, man. But you learn those lessons.
And I think for me, so physical activity has always been a good outlet for me. But I've learned that kind of what you're saying, you got back up and you eventually made it happen and whatnot. There's a greater analogy there for all of life too, because it's like you become more resilient. Like you smelling salts, then you fought your way through it. But then the next time in a game, when you really felt like just I can't do it anymore, you knew there was more. You knew there was more in the tank.
Absolutely.
And then when it comes to the standards, it might be difficult sometimes to be like, cutting this off. I choose not to go with it. And it might be challenging. And it might be you get ridiculed by your friends at school or something like that. But you also know you have the assurance that on the other side of that, it's a whole lot better.
It is, man. Especially today, in today's day and age with all the social media and things that are going on. My oldest, I remember her coming home one day from church crying, and she's like, my friends have this social media, they have that social media, and I don't have any of that. And I said, and my wife and I were like, yeah, and I said, but it's not fair. It's not fair. Well, that's the way life is. Sometimes life isn't fair, and you're at the age where you want all that stuff, but it's not age appropriate. Well, my friends have it. Well, listen to how your friends talk and act. Is that what you want? Going back to standards, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you want for your life? Is that how you want to see yourself? No. Okay. And what's great is that once you teach the older ones, it trickles down to the younger ones, right? So you'll see my 11-year-old upset because she can't do something that her friends are doing, and then my son or my 16-year-old, or my oldest, will say, "Well, that's just how it is. Is that what you want for yourself? Is that?" And they teach, and that makes it so easy, man. As a parent, when the older ones start to teach the younger ones,
I love that. Yeah.
it's awesome, and it's great to see.
Yeah.
It's great to see.
Well, and it's all. I mean, I don't know where this natural aversion comes from, but as a kid, it's always easier, or it's all you always want. You'd rather hear from your brother or sister than from your mom or dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because my wife will say that. She'll be like, "I just told her to do. I've been telling her that for the longest time." So yeah, but they don't want to hear it from us. They want, it's easier to hear from a friend or from their siblings.
Yeah.
So.
The family unit, man.
It's awesome, bro.
That's where it's at.
Man, I tell you, it's awesome. Having a lot of kids is truly it's a true blessing.
Was that a day one desire for you? Like you always wanted to have a family, and a bunch of kids?
Yeah, always. I always wanted to have. I grew up watching Eight Is Enough, which was a sitcom back in the day, and I always wanted that. I always wanted a bunch of siblings.
Yeah.
I had. Two older sisters and a brother, and I wanted more.
Yeah.
I wanted more, and I always thought it would be neat. Right now it's 5. We don't know if it's going to be more.
Okay, and you were one of 4.
One of 4.
Where in the pecking order?
I was the third oldest, second youngest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 girls and a boy until my brother came on. My brother's 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
So I was the only boy for a while.
Okay.
So my son tells me, "Dad, you don't know what it's like." I said, "I know what it's like.
Yeah, I do.
I know exactly.
I spent 10 years.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what it's like.
Uh-huh.
So listen, I hear you, bro.
Yeah.
And then I try to give him some tips and tricks on how to handle it. But yeah, man, big family is always something I always wanted. And like I said, we have 5 now. We'll see.
Yeah. see what the Lord's will is. What happens?
Absolutely, it's not in our control.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, we're rolling right up on our time.
Cool.
But thank you so much for spending this time with me, for sharing a little bit of your insight about your family, about work, all that sort of stuff. I do want to ask one last thing, though.
Sure.
Since you're into the motivational stuff, if you had one thing you could tell the world, what would it be?
Ooh, that's deep, and that's a good one, and it's deep.
I'll fling it on you real quick.
Yeah. Learn what makes you happy. Learn what makes you happy, because the most of your life, your biggest fan and your biggest critic is yourself. So learn what makes you happy, because that's the voice that you're going to be listening to and speaking to for more than anyone else in your life, right? There's no matter how much spouses, friends, whatever you may have, you're not going to spend as much time talking to them as you are to yourself. So learn what makes you happy, so that will get you to the ultimate place, which is you always want to be happy in life, right? People, there's always books and movies and things or whatever. What makes you happy? The pursuit of happiness, and but it all begins with yourself.
Yeah.
So find out what truly makes you happy, and do that. Make yourself happy first, because you can't make other people happy.
Yeah.
Unless you're happy first. So
it's got to pour out from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like without starting an entire other conversation, but that's something that I've the desire to help people is close to my heart, and it's like, yeah, if you're not grounded enough to be self-aware and to know what helps and motivates you and moves you, how are you gonna help anyone else?
Yeah, man. My daughter, she started a charity like 2 years ago. It's called Sarah's Giving Tree, and she had a dream that she was giving toys to children, and she woke up one day and she said, "Dad, I have this dream," and I said, "Start a charity, start doing that."
Yeah.
So she spent a few years collecting toys for the Miami Rescue Mission, and we went out and handed toys to underprivileged children and things like that. And it was amazing. I mean, we've always given back.
Yeah.
We still do that to this day here in our town. We're always about giving and taking care of others and paying it forward. God has blessed us, so it's so amazing to be able to give. Going back to happiness, right? That internally, when you give, it feels awesome. It feels awesome to see somebody smile from something you're blessing them with.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Man, well, thank you so much, sir, for real, man.
It's my pleasure, man.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
And a massive thank you to Maria Vision and for Guadalupe Roastery making this possible. Thank you guys for tuning in, for listening. We'll see y'all next time.